And we're live. Happy Monday, everybody. Hopefully, everybody had a great weekend. We had baseball and basketball all weekend long. Start that stuff back up and get a couple hours. No, Austin Rivers showed it off yesterday. I don't have a dress to put on this morning. We'll deal with that one a little bit later.
Man, you can't make statements like that and then not back it up. That's all I got to say about that.
I mean, fair is fair. I also just don't have access to a dress my size. The only woman that lives here is my daughter, and I don't think I'd fit into any of those.
No, I don't think anyone wants to see you in your daughter's dress. So thank you for not putting that on. Something I didn't even go over with you, man, but frustrating. Over the weekend, we're making these videos solo because there's so much to do. You got NBA, I got MLB. I made the MLB public video for Sunday on Saturday night. And by the time Sunday morning hit, the pitcher I brought up wasn't pitching. And 3 out of the 4 offensive guys were out. So I had to redo the video.
Yeah, that'll happen. I did the basketball one Saturday night as well, and then Noel and Adams. There was a whole bunch of things getting messed with on that one, and we'll bring that up here again shortly, guys. We're also, when we're done with this one, hop on over to Overlay. They got a couple of 5-pick NBA shootouts out for both early games and late games. So there's a couple of those to dissect. There is the baseball one, the progressive jackpot on the $22 baseball one's approaching 4K. In fact, I think when they update it today, it might even already be there. So that one continues to be on the rise. We'll get back to the NBA progressive jackpot, which is darn near $20,000 when the NBA playoffs come around. As you guys know from playing NBA DFS on your pay sites all weekend long, like these last couple days of the bubble pre-playoffs are just going to be they're going to be messy. They're going to be weird. Things are going to be all over the place. Guys, when they get like the littlest bit of injury, will be out of games. I know I was big on Derek White yesterday, and he was balling before he left. It's just going to be a weird couple of days, so be prepared for that.
Yeah, it's going to be weird all over. I mean, Austin Rivers going for 60 is pretty much all you need to know. Even throw it back to Jabari Parker getting a lot of run last night. So things will break out weird.
Yeah, some of these teams are flat out of it. Like, that was one of the reasons I was shocked that all the Kings guys were as high owned as they were yesterday. I told guys, like, when it came to, like, Bogdanovich and Fox, like, hey, I love the game and I love the spot, but it's scary to me to play anybody from this game for the Kings, not knowing like what's their motivation going to be. And there's a lot of teams going through that right now. So it's an interesting couple of days. We'll deal with it how we will. And best of luck to everybody. But we got the NBA playoffs coming real soon. I love NBA DFS for in the playoff times. That's probably my strongest thing that I have. We got Bellman over here with his baseball being his strongest suit. It's a great time to buy a membership because we'll double up with you guys here and try to help you win some money.
Hell yes. Speaking of Fox, real quick, in the end of that game when it was like a 20-point game, the Kings had their bench unit in with Fox. I couldn't believe that he was still out there. He ended up having like a really good game because he got a lot of junk time minutes. I could not believe it.
Yeah, nothing surprised me in that game.
True.
I completely understood why like all those guys were popular. They made sense. That game made a lot of sense from DFS purposes, but I just we're getting into a point. It's hard to know what guys are going to do. We're seeing guys lose run at weird times, like Paul George not playing in the fourth quarter on a close game and stuff like that. It's just an interesting time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, subscribe to the station if you're new to it. Double thumbs up is always appreciated. Let's talk about the Dallas Mavericks today because they are probably the top team on this slate that you need to pay extra special attention to. And we're going to talk about everybody's favorite NBA player, not LeBron James, not Luka Doncic, but Boban Marjanovic himself, star of John Wick 3. What's not to like about this guy if he's in the starting lineup? However, we do not know that. I will say, it is the second game to kick off, and it's only a half hour after the first game, so hopefully we get some information about whether or not he's starting. We always get much better warm and fuzzies from Boban when he is in the starting lineup, although I will say there's probably going to be a few people who are going to be turned off because he started the other day and didn't really play much after that. That was that was kind of different, though, right? Because Luka and the Unicorn and Finney Smith were all playing, and it didn't almost seem like I told you I don't know what their plans are with him. If he is starting today, I feel really comfortable Boban will see 20-plus minutes.
So I agree with you. It was different. And, he started. The thing is, the reason why it was like skeptical is because they had started like Barea a couple games before and he only played like 10 minutes. And then the game before, whoever they had started a lot of times hadn't been playing big minutes. So it was risky for sure. It's less risky here because, they're basically sitting their whole team. I don't think it's like a lock, though, even if he's starting, because they just showed that it's not a lock. I'm with you, though. At 3K, his upside is just too real to pass on. And I do think it makes a big difference that none of those guys are playing today.
Well, like the only guy left is Kleba as far as frontline type of guys, right? Like Powell isn't even in the bubble from best of my recollection. You got no Porzingis, which plays the majority of the minutes at center for them, and no Finney-Smith, which is their other kind of combo 3-4 guy. So I feel good about it. However, I will say this, like if you get word that Boban's not starting, I don't have a good answer for you guys about what the Mavericks plan is then today. I mean, this guy is the ultimate mess with you type of player because if you don't play him, Boban could legitimately, I kid you not, 20x today. I mean, I'm not going to call for 60 DK points, but if they let him run out there for 28, 30 minutes, we've seen what he does out there. And if he's not starting and you play him, like 0 is not impossible either. So it's a tough one. This is exactly also the kind of guy that 2-time Defensive Player of the Year Rudy Gobert struggles with. Is a bigger guy like this, thicker, taller. As great as Gobert is, he can get bullied a little bit by bigger men, and Boban is one of the few guys that is bigger than him in the NBA. So I'm hoping we get good word on him, and if he is in the starting lineup, lock him in. And if he doesn't play, just deal with it. Because if you don't play him and he plays 20 minutes and goes for 40, which we've seen him do a million times, like you're gonna have trouble winning.
I agree with that point. If he's in the starting lineup, lock him in. But I just don't think it's like 100% that he plays 25 minutes.
No, it's not. But they are missing 2 of their 3 big men.
But you still definitely lock him in. Agreed.
Yeah, at 3K, like he really only needs 10 minutes as well because the increased usage with no Luka or Porzingis on the floor as well. Like this guy could easily like 6 or 7x in 10 minutes.
For sure.
So it's a tricky one, but I wanted to talk it over with you guys because I'm sure a lot of people want to know what's up with Boban. Let's watch for the starting lineups. We don't know yet. Hopefully we get word prior to the games locking, but even if you don't, this is only the second game, and with late swap, you can make adjustments.
You have to make adjustments. You have to have Boban in your lineup, assuming he's starting until we hear otherwise, in my opinion.
Yep, and then run. And if he ain't started, man, go throw some Kleba in your life.
For sure.
All right, next up, Darius Bazley of the Oklahoma City Thunder. This is another one that we got to pay extra special attention to. But we're blessed with the fact that this is the first game of the day, so we should know a lot more about Adams and Noel at this point. I know I talked over Bazley with a bunch of the customers yesterday before the slate started. Things got really weird prior to yesterday's slate starting. And I'm guessing based on you wanting to talk about him, you watched a little bit of this game.
I watched a little bit of it. For me, though, again, still only 3,300 in a really good spot against Phoenix. I'm not going to pretend to know about Adams and Noel at this point. I think Adams is out. I'm pretty sure I'm reading that Adams is probably going to be out and Noel is probably going to play, which, Listen, I'd like it more for Bazley if they're both out because it just opens up more minutes. But this is a guy they want to give run to. They're not playing for a ton right now. Obviously, they want to stay where they're at. But I'm not – besides Adams and Noel, at this point, like, I would expect one of their other bigger guys to be sitting. Gallinari would be at the top of my list. Chris Paul, Shai even. Any of those veteran guys that they want to rest and have healthy for the playoffs. This is a good opportunity to see what they have with Bazley, who is a pretty hyped up prospect who came out of high school. Very young, very raw, but he's got talent. He showed it yesterday in a great spot against Washington. Not in that good of a spot today, but hardly in a bad spot. I like him a lot at this price point. It's just a punt play. The more guys out for Oklahoma City, the more I like him.
Yeah, I liked him over Muscala yesterday, and he did well for me. Of course, he wasn't in my lineup because there was so many good plays again yesterday with all the sits. But you're right, he looked really good yesterday. And I watched almost the full OKC Grizzlies game the other day as well, and he looked pretty good in that one, and that's with Noel playing.
He's got good length, and he's athletic, so that plays well.
All right, next up, let's talk about Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks. So this is another interesting slate in the sense that just Dallas already has opened up so much value on this slate that you're going to be able to spend up on studs, a couple of them if you really want to. The hard part is the studs. Like, I don't know what to expect out of Anthony Davis and LeBron and guys like that right now. So you get yourself into an interesting point where this could be a slate where you actually leave money on the table, which is something you never do in the NBA, but today could be it.
I was literally just about to say that because of what you're saying. We always talk about this during baseball that, there's no way that freaking Boban is going to outscore Giannis, if they play the same, if they're both on a slate. Well, stuff like that is happening right now because these stars aren't getting their full work their full workload.
So as the Bucks guy here, Let me tell you what my expectations are today, and then I'm going to hone in and see if I can read or hear or telepathically be communicated anything else that might happen in this one. Milwaukee is on the front end of a back-to-back. They play Washington tomorrow. Washington is eliminated. We all know Beal and half the characters aren't there. My expectations are today, and this is just a guess, so please continue to look for information on this. Milwaukee's going to play this game to win. They're going to play hard. Everyone's going to play. The studs are going to play. They're going to play their full allotment of minutes. And my reason behind that is Milwaukee is 2-3 in the bubble right now. They choked down the stretch against both Texas teams, Houston and Dallas. They really can only hang their hats on one thing, which is the second half against Miami that didn't even have Jimmy Butler. If you've noticed this within the bubble, the offense is actually ahead of the defense in a lot of these NBA teams. And while the Bucks have been the best defense in basketball for most of the last 2 years, their defense doesn't look really good. The rotations are slow. They've always had an affinity for giving up three-point shots. I think the Milwaukee Bucks, and I think Coach Bud knows this, they need another W, and they need a W against a good team like Toronto. My expectations are they're going to play this game to win, and almost would be important for them to play a close game right here so that they can start working out the kinks that we've seen down the stretch in these two, bigger games against Dallas and Houston. I think we all know that Giannis can pretty much ball on anybody at 10-6. This is not a great matchup for him or anything like that, but it's Giannis on a day when we're going to have a ton of money to spend studs. On a slate like this, I would play Giannis at 10-6 against anybody if I thought he'd see his full minutes.
I get that for sure. He's wildly in play here for all the reasons you said. And the reason I don't love it is because I also think Toronto is going to play really hard. They're coming off a pretty embarrassing loss to Boston, and they're good. They're not as good as Milwaukee, but they're good. I still think Giannis is a great play here at this price point on this particular slate because of the money we have to spend, though. I just don't think the spot Giannis goes for 80.
No, and I don't think it matters. And what I mean by that is with Boban and maybe some of the other guys from Dallas and a Bazley and all these other guys, you're going to be sitting there man, I can play 3 10K players today. I don't really like any of them. But if you give me full allotment of Giannis, he's still, I don't think his ratio is off the hook. He's still going to outscore most of the people on the slate.
That's exactly what I was about to ask you. Do you think he's the highest scorer on the slate?
I don't know if I'd say the highest score, but with all the extra money I expect us to have, he'll be, if he plays a full amount of minutes, he'll always score more than most of the people on the slate.
Yeah, it's always hard to say one guy will be the leading scorer because, every slate a guy or 2 or 3 go off and you just don't know who they're going to be. But I'd make a pretty good bet that Giannis would be a top 5 scorer on the slate.
Yeah, as long as he sees 30-plus minutes, he on a 7 or 5 game slate, I forget how many it is, he's going to be up there because the dude puts up DFS points at a rate that, he averages 30 and 14 and 6, right? There's a reason he averages 60 points a game. He
walks into DFS points faster than anyone.
Yeah, well, maybe, you can give me your Harden and Luka arguments, but these guys are all amazing. So and we don't have Luka or Harden here to compete with.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next up, Jimmy Butler. So you had another center you wanted to talk about, but I kind of asked you to make a pivot, and you brought up Jimmy Butler, which I love because I was looking at him this morning as well. He's been off the last 3 games, and you guys know I'm not a big, quote-unquote narrative guy, but I was talking up Dame yesterday for the narrative, and he was awesome. So I do have a softer spot for it today.
Get your popcorn ready for this one. Even if you don't want to play them in DFS, I think this is the must-watch game of the night. For those of you who don't remember, the last time these two teams played, TJ Warren and Jimmy Butler got into it. Warren ended up getting ejected, talking big-time trash about each other after the game. Well, everyone laughed at that kind of when it happened because, who is TJ Warren? Well, now all of a sudden, who is Jimmy Butler? Obviously, that's a joke. Butler is still the better pro, but Warren is Mr. Bubble, probably the best player in the bubble coming out of nowhere. This is going to be a great matchup, and we know Butler gets up for these type of spots. Not only do I expect him to clamp down Warren, I expect him to have a really good game offensively, put it on Indiana. He's very affordable at 7,200. I like him a lot here. My only, I don't want to say concern, but I do think that he really spends a lot of energy on defense. So what do you think about that?
Sure, but here's one of the things with Jimmy Butler and why I like him today. He is passive on offense, right? He's got other good players around him, Goran Dragic, Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, et cetera, et cetera. I think today you might see more assertiveness from him. He's a guy that tends to want to plays the game the right way. It wants to get his teammates going. You don't really see him take over until the last couple minutes of the fourth quarter. I think you might see a little more aggressiveness from him today, which again for DFS is fantastic.
Yeah, I agree with that. And let's not forget, like, he's a good fantasy player. He's not like a superstar, but he's very affordable for like his upside at this price point. I mean, he's averaging, close to 42 DK points a game. If this guy's in a good groove and playing well, he's, not far from being an 8K player often.
One of the things I talked about with Lillard yesterday too is there are certain guys that I think, and we've talked about this ad nauseum, right, between you and I. People go out of their way to search for narratives like, hey, like this dude's favorite breakfast cereal was out of stock this morning, so he's mad. Like, I don't care about all that stuff. Butler ain't that guy. And it was like the same thing with Dame yesterday. After they were sniping with Paul George and Beverly, like some guys, like they get that fire inside of them and you watch him take over. Butler is that kind. He's got that dog in him, which I just love and respect him as a basketball player.
Yeah, I want Jimmy Butler on my side tonight.
Yeah, definitely, guys. All right, that's what we got for today. We appreciate y'all watching. Don't forget to click that thumbs up, slide on over to the website, and sign up for a membership if you want to get some NBA DFS action. We got the playoffs coming up soon. We got baseball at full throttle right now. Let's rock and roll, win some money today, fellas.
Thanks, guys.